Hey, good morning. Welcome to Hobby Evolution, episode 1495. Happy Monday. What is going on? We've got I kind of like it outside. It's one of those dreary, rainy Mondays, but I like it. I need it. We need the rain. We need the rain. Just taking a look at my eBay. Yesterday, I hit a new milestone that's never been hit before, and we're going to talk about, you guessed it, live selling, how it can 10x your business. I'm just going to share some of the things that I've picked up in live selling in the brief amount of time that I've been on eBay Live, and it's a formula that we all know that I think many people just don't put into practice, myself included. Look at my room in the back. I just noticed in the background, boy, it's really shit everywhere, and it's after live events. I mean, my cabinets. Somebody was wanting Cubs. I'm like, all right, let's do Cubs. Sell for my own collection. Let's do it. At this point, the Band-Aid has been ripped off on my Cubs collection. It's like, you know what? I'm looking through stuff, and there's I probably sell two Cubs cards per eBay Live. So and I pass on, like, I'll grab a stack. Do I have one? I don't have one next to me, but I'll grab a stack and I'm like, can't sell. Maybe. I'll sell this. Can't sell. So a lot of the can't sell stuff is because it's not really worth that much. Although I did sell like a Jared Young Chrome rookie auto for like $6 or $8 last night. I'm like, well, that was a nice, I'd probably pass that, well, because I have multiples, but I'd pass it up in a dollar box. But actually, I wouldn't. I'm not passing up any Cubs autograph in a dollar box. A Cubs autograph in a dollar box is mine. So what's going on? Happy Monday. Boy, we are burning the candle at both ends. eBay Live went till like 11. Was it like 11:15, 11:20 last night? Now, I did know going into it I was going to be later than usual. I did 201 auctions. I knew I was going to be late because I did extended bidding on all of the auctions. And then I had, obviously, I've been sourcing a lot of good stuff lately, which I'm going to talk about. And so there's a lot of bidding. And so when there's a lot of bidding, there's a lot of extended bidding. And when there's extended bidding, you're spending more time. And more time means I'm down in my basement till 11:30, going to bed after midnight. And here we are, back at it. We're taking the day off from live selling today, back at it tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Central. I've got to get that set up and ready to go. And I think I want to do maybe I'll just do daytime streams this week, just and give me the nights to prepare for the card show. We've got the Madison card show this Saturday. I had a dealer reach out to me this morning. There will be an email sent out. The emails will be sent out to the email that I have on file from your payment for the tables. Those emails are going to go out before Wednesday. So I don't know when, but they'll go out before Wednesday. That gives you plenty of time. They said they received confirmation. If you received a confirmation from PayPal, you got it. You're in. If you made payment, it went through, you got your table. Those emails will go out. Aim for tomorrow. Pokemon show is next month in July. Tables will go on sale at some point this week. I've got to get that set up and ready to go. That it won't take me as long because it's just you're buying tables. You're not buying specific tables. I'm going to put you where you're at, unless you're a regular at the Saturday shows. You can have your same table But if you set up at the last Pokemon show, it's just we're starting off with a clean slate and to make my life easier. Unless you want to pick your table, and then I'm just going to charge you for my time. So that's how we're going to roll. What else is going on? So it's raining. That's about it. Yesterday I just shipped. We did eBay Live. Today we're going to talk about 10xing the business. I hit a new milestone that I've never hit before, and I feel that there's another milestone coming in the very near future. We'll see. My net sales year to date, 111%. The last couple sales have been wild. I'm 20% on volume sold year to date, 40% on average sales price. eBay Live has just been crushing it. And the strange thing about last night's live was, and this is kind of where you this is an important note in live selling, or any selling, not just live selling, is paying attention. And I don't necessarily there's a balancing act that you have to play with. There's a tipping point when it comes to how much information is too much information, and it's analytics overload. And you're in just a brain freeze because you're just staring at numbers, and you've got to know your numbers. You've got to know the trends, but you can't spend too much time. You've got to actually act on it. It's kind of like when I was in sales. One of the important lessons that I learned, like once I was out in the field actually selling, was you need to do your homework. Like you can't cold call a business and don't know what they might not even be a fit for your company, whatever you're selling. So do your homework and don't waste time. I learned early on when I was in logistics and selling, lining up freight, cardboard companies. There was a company that I was just cold calling everybody I had a list. I was just calling everybody. And, it's like, this is the rate, because this is the rate we're running. That, our regular carriers, they're not working for peanuts. So, cardboard run, well, we can pay $150. Well, no truck's going to do that for 100. We're not going to turn our truck on for $150. So, you have to do a little homework, but you can't go in and find a cardboard company and like, look. You have to realize cardboard company, no money. Moving on. What's going to make you some money? Where's the margins at? And that's kind of what I'm learning. And I wanted to, with the slabs I bought, I wanted to write down, okay, what did I pay for this? What did it sell for? And then it's like, you know what? All I need to do is keep it in here. Now, is that smart business? Usually no. But I've got a pretty good feel on things that I'm comfortable with it. And maybe I make a mistake, but the thing is, like, there was a Shaquille O'Neal last night that it sold. I made money on it. Not as much money as I made on the previous one. But I also had, the funny thing is, say the last one I spent $15 on, and I sold it for $50. This one I think I paid $8 for, and I sold it for $20. So, the margins were similar, but the dollar amounts were less, which leads me to, okay, I'm not going to pay. I got to be careful with what I pay. John Jay's in the house. What's up? So, it's a lot of like just paying attention to, some of those numbers and, what's going to sell, and not necessarily what sells, what's going to sell to your audience? And I want to get into that because I've got a lot of different thoughts on that. We'll probably get into it sooner or later. Just not much in the chat. Monday morning, dreary Monday morning. Before we get into the chat this week, again, Madison Card Show is this Saturday. Alliant Energy Center. This Saturday, June 21st, extended show hours because we've got more than 100 additional tables than our regular monthly shows. 250 dealer tables. We've got, so you're going to walk, Exhibition Hall is where it's at. So you come into, it's 1919 Alliant Energy Center Way. Pretty easy address to remember. You come in, parking is free. I am paying for your parking. You're welcome. So you come in, you park, Exhibition Hall. You can't miss it. It's right there. You walk in. There's a big, I don't know what you call that, lobby area. I don't know, lobby area. And then you can wait in line there. Doors to the show open at 9 sharp. It is $5 admission. No early birds. Kids 12 and under are free. Now, with your $5 admission, we've teamed up with Bonsai Cards and Collectibles, the card shop in DeForest, and we are giving out $5 off coupons to be used in-store at Bonsai next Saturday and next Sunday. So it's in-store only and can only be used next Saturday and next Sunday. So if you can make it to the trade night on Saturday night after the Madison Card Show or head over there on Sunday, you get your $5 back that you paid to get into the Madison Card Show. You walk in, you pay. There's going to be some premium booth space right there in the front. Concession stand will be open as well. I think they're going to have like hot dogs, pop, chips, popcorn. Beer will be served as well if you're into that. So concessions will be open. To the left, so you walk in. To the left is a big ballroom. Will be mostly sports. There will be some TCG mixed in. There will be some Pokemon in that room. And on the right side will be mostly Pokemon, but there will be some sports dealers in that room as well. So trying to break it up as much as possible. I've heard more and more, and really not just from now, a majority of the complainers are sports guys. I don't want to, it's a Pokemon festival. Complaining about all the Pokemon it shows. Well, tell your friends to start buying tables or start a sports card show because there's more Pokemon dealers than sports card dealers. That's why you see a lot of Pokemon at shows. So that's where we're at. Show hours 9 to 5. By the way, I've had this is and I was talking to my director of dealer operations, East Coast Tom. We had lunch after the Janesville Card Show on Saturday, and I told the pain in the ass thing about having to cancel a card show is you can take it down off the Beckett calendar, but there's many websites that scrape data from the Beckett calendar, from Sports Collectors Digest, from those calendars. And this was similar to like load boards, where you put a load up on the DAT, you take it down, but it didn't take it down from the other websites, and you continue getting calls. Hey, do you got this Chicago to Los Angeles run? No, we covered that 3 hours ago. Well, it's still on the board. Well, it's not on our board. So that's similar to the card show calendar. So, but the reason I bring this up, there's probably some card show calendars out there that have June 28th, a show at the Sheraton Hotel. There is not a show. I had somebody reach out wanting tables for it. He's reached out like 3 times. Hey, can I get tables for the June 28th show? There is no June 28th show. Well, at the Sheraton. No, there is no June 28th show at the Sheraton Hotel. That was canceled. Well, it's still on. There is no show. Well, is somebody else running it? No, there is no show on June 28th at the Sheraton. The room is not even open. That's why we had to cancel the show. It's under construction. So, but with that said, we are returning to the Sheraton in July, right before the National, the Saturday and Sunday before National, which would be, I think, Saturday, July 26th. and Sunday, July 27th. 2 days of the Madison Card Show. We've got the standard regular show on Saturday. We've got the Pokemon show on Sunday, leading into the National, which is always a very popular show. A lot of people want to buy to take stuff to the National, especially with the National being just 2 hours down the road from us this year and next year and the year after. So nice little 3-year run in Chicago. All right. With that said, let's go into the chat. We're going to talk about live selling, how it can 10x your business today. David is here. Good morning. Philly Joe's in the house. Good morning. We've got Gem City Card Show. He prefers working on rainy days also. Yeah. Although I haven't, I guess Saturday I did when I came home I was inside all day. I spent some time outside at the Janesville Card Show on Saturday. But I came home and went down to the pond on Saturday night. So I did get some outdoor time. Yesterday, I took Ernie for a walk yesterday, but for the most part, I was hunkered down in the basement day and night. Today, I'll be hunkered down in the basement pretty much every day this week. I'll be inside. I'd like to get like maybe Thursday, I think would be a good day to just take a break. Red Light, what's going on? He says, shit, we don't need it. We had 7 inches of rain Saturday. Holy moly. We've had hardly any rain here. Can we have some of it? We'll take some of your rain because we need it. We need the rain. That dude from Duryea says, what's up? eBay has been feast or famine for the last 2 weeks. That's interesting. And I honestly don't know what my static sales have been. Now, my static sales are also going to be on a downward trend because I'm deleting some of the inventory. You know, I took off about 50 like decent cards to put on eBay Live. I'm not listing anything new in the buy it now section, and I don't plan on it. You know, there's some stuff that I know I should. One case, an example, and I ended up selling it last night, was the Drew Brees autograph, the rookie auto that I just got back on Saturday from PSA, which kind of sucks now that I think about it. I think that was going to be a losing proposition. So I'm like, I got $155 for the Drew Brees, $155. I probably could have got at minimum $250 as a buy it now. I paid to get the 2 autos authenticated. I paid $125. Not to mention I paid, you know, whatever I paid for it on the auction in Beloit. So that was a poor investment back in January. So I'll run the David Robinson auto because I think I can get more. The plan was, my strategy for that was, I'm going to list the Drew Brees as a buy it now. I'm going to list the David Robinson on eBay Live. And I didn't flip flop it. I'm going to still sell the David Robinson on eBay Live. But somebody asked for like Saints. And I'm like, well, I got a Drew Brees rookie auto. And then a couple people are like, run it. So we ran it. And I mean, I was happy with 155, but like in hindsight, it's like, well, that was a poor investment. But hey, I was selling Caitlin Clark's. I paid $3 for that we're selling for 30. So there was a $1 Dennis Rodman that sold for like 45. Overall, it was a phenomenal night. Cody's in the house. Good morning. But from a static sales point, I don't know. I don't know how my sales have been. And I know they've been down. John Jay just fell asleep on his keyboard. Oh no, he says it stands for, it's an acronym. Thank God it's how live selling can 10x your business. Hobby Evolution episode Monday. I like it. I just thought you hit your head on the keyboard. Good morning, Mark. TD Sports Cards in the house. Good morning. Boston Smoke is here. John says live platform selling seems dependent on building a following either through social media or other channels. Let's start there. Absolutely. Without question. You can't just turn a camera on and start live selling and 10x your business. In fact, you can't do anything by just starting. You're not going to 10x your business overnight. I'm not going to 10x my eBay business in the next 3 months, 6 months. Hopefully in a year. 10x is going to be hard, but I will 10x my business through live selling. And I'm glad this point was brought up, because it's something that is brought up often. Well, you make this money because you have a big following on, whatever platform. Like I'm just going to use some examples that I watch. Kevin, the Commonwealth Picker, Carrie at American Arbitrage, ADH Dave. Well, they do so well because they've got this big following. They didn't come out of the womb with a big following. They weren't born with 20,000 YouTube subscribers that then go follow them to Dibdit on the district platform or on eBay or on whatever selling platform. You have to do that. You have to put some work in before you make money. And it doesn't matter what you do. You can sell tiddlywinks. You've got to do that. You've got to put in the work. I didn't just snap my fingers and eBay reached out to me and say, hey, you've been on YouTube. You've got 106 viewers on YouTube. Why don't you come over and sell on eBay Live? No, it took a lot of work. Took a lot of time. I work weekends. I work 6, 7 a.m. until 11:30 last night, p.m. Now, am I working constantly through those hours? No. Took Ernie for a walk, break up the day. No, but those are some of the things that you have to do. If you want to grow your business, you've got to go the extra mile. You've got to put in work. Just simply getting a subscription to Card Dealer Pro and listing 1,000 cards today doesn't mean you're automatically going to sell 100 cards in the next day or two. You've got to build that following. And how do you build that following? Well, you got to put in work. And sometimes it pays. It pays to play, pay to play, whatever the hell. Sometimes you've got to do promotions. Well, I'm not going to give eBay any more money. Well, then suffer this tough sales. Sometimes you got to pay to play. Build a following on social media. Get out of your comfort zone. And this is all really easy to say, and it's extremely difficult to do. You've just got to do it. And if you don't want to do it, that's okay. But also realize if your sales suck and you're doing the same thing over and over for 3 years. For 3 years, my eBay business basically, Why? Why was my eBay business slowly growing? And it grew. My eBay business has grown year over year, but it grew really slowly. Why? Because I was doing the same thing. I was going to card shows. I was buying bulk boxes. I was listing $1.75 cards, the same stuff, which is going to lead me into my next point, but I'm going to take a break and read some chat. So I'm going to write it down. All right. So let's go to the chat. So just going back to John's comment, absolutely. It is completely 100% dependent on building a following through social media and other channels. 100%. You have to do it. You can also build it organically through that platform. Ideally, you do both. But yes, you have to do that. You have to do that to see the success. 100%. And you have to market. You have to advertise if you want to grow. That's just a fact. Doing the same thing over and over, we all know the spiel. Dad Dude from Duryea says, I would think live selling would draw customers to the static listings when you are not live. It does, somewhat. I did, and I think somebody asked, I don't know if it was at the card show. I think it might have been somebody asked me in person at the card show. They're like, have you seen an uptick from new sellers from your live platform onto, and I've only noticed one. I've probably had more. And sometimes, and it's only, and really my observation is only dependent on the chat. I don't know who's watching, but I know who's in the chat, and I know the names that are consistently in the chat. So one of the names in the chat I saw come up, ordered a bunch of cards. I'm like, oh, that's an interesting order, because it was very reminiscent to what sells on eBay Live. And of course, on eBay Live, it probably sells for $5. And in my store, it's $1.75. And then I saw the name, and he actually brought it up in the chat last night. He's like, did you see I found your store? And I do advertise during my live, but again, a lot of people are not, they're caught up in the live auction. They're like, oh, I'm not going to step away from the live and go check out your store. But if it later on, it's like, oh, because, you try to drill it into their heads and mention it as much as possible. And then maybe if they're scrolling on eBay, like, oh, wait, the guy from eBay, the 1 Million Cubs guy on eBay Live said he's got 100,000 cards at his store. I want to go see what he's got. Because maybe he's got Ken Griffey Jr., that was selling for $10 last night, and he's got them for $1.75 for buy it now. So I do see it, but it's what I've learned in the very short time I've been on eBay Live. I've been on for, I think this week starts my 9th week, starting week 9. And what I've noticed is most live buyers aren't static buyers, and vice versa. Most static buyers are not live buyers. And hopefully we can kind of get that a shift moving. eBay Live's still very new, especially when it comes to now. It's 2.5 years old, but it's basically been ignored up until a few months ago by eBay. So hopefully, as eBay gets the word out and they start pushing it more and more and more, then you start to see that shift. And there's still going to be a majority of static buyers. It's kind of like auctions versus buy it now. You have people that are strictly auction only. I got a buddy, and that conversation with my friend Mark was part of the reason I started doing 7-day auctions last year. We're at the bar, and he's like, you don't run auctions? And I'm like, no, auctions suck. Remember that? And he goes, I only buy on auction. He's like, he goes, I don't even know if I've ever looked at buy it now listings on eBay. And I'm like, really? So it was that conversation that's kind of like, okay, let me play around with it. And my initial I'm going to run the shit that I don't want. Well, the shit that people don't want, and this is kind of the example I use, the shit that doesn't sell 2-3 years and a buy it now, do you think somebody is going to find it in a 7-day auction for, and $1.75 is at 99 cents plus shipping? You're paying more for it essentially at auction. So that was kind of, it's like, okay, well, maybe people don't want shit. Maybe people don't want my $1.75 shit. Now there's a lot of people that want $1.75 shit. Don't get me wrong. I could have been, with the money I was making on, now strictly on eBay, from my buy it now store, I would not have been comfortable if I didn't have card show income, other income coming in. I would not have been comfortable. And that was always a fear. Like, well, what if something happens and I can't do the card show and I can't do, whatever. It's like, I can't. I'm not. Could I? Maybe, but I'm not. I choose not to. I want to make more money than this. And so there you go. Let's go to Garrett's comment. Will eBay live sales show up on eBay sold listings? Yes. Now, yes, with an asterisk. eBay live listings do show up on eBay sold. However, most of my eBay live is shell listings. So in eBay live, it's not going to show up as a Caitlin Clark Panini Contenders. It's going to show up as Sunday singles as shown on screen. No Caitlin Clark, no Iowa Hawkeyes, no Indiana Fever, nothing like that. So that, and I talked about this a while ago about the comps and how comps are really going to kind of get fucked because of this. You know, there could be, I sold a 91 score Chipper Jones I think it went for $25. Might have went for 30. A 91 score Chipper Jones. I sold a 91 Upper Deck Chipper Jones a couple nights ago for 20. Somebody even in the chat last night mentioned, what's going on with Chipper Jones that I don't know about? I just have people in my room that want Chipper Jones rookie cards, and bidding wars ensue, and they get paid for, which is the most important part. So yes, they do show up on eBay sold. However, if they're shell listings, they just show up as shell listings. So that'll affect comps. And maybe it's a good thing. Like a 91 score Chipper Jones, $30. Like, how come these sold for $2.50? 608 Cody says, currently working on your badges. Cha-ching! Yeah, we got vendor badges. Shout out to Cody. We got some vendor badges. I'll be picking those up this week. We got shirts. We're going to have Madison Card Show shirts for sale on Saturday. Shout out to Weston for that. Max says, social media, or you're one of 10 people that has access to eBay's 100 million user platform. Absolutely. Absolutely. John says, my floor looks similar to yours. Open boxes from recent deliveries. Yes. Love it. James says, what's going on? Did that turd ball Pokemon weirdo thief get charged? No. Dealer decided not to press charges as long as he got his stuff back, which I understand from the dealer. I understand from a dealer standpoint. Me and the peanut gallery, it's like, press those charges. We got to put a stop to this shit. We're never going to put a stop to it, but at least if we can slow it down. John says, do you consider your new bounty hunting endeavors to be an offshoot of your card business, or is it standalone bounty hunting? Max says, building a following is success for any business, though, not just live selling. Oh, absolutely. Doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't even have to be in sales. If you're in my previous life in radio, you build a following. And when you build a following on radio, guess what follows? Advertising. And guess what comes advertisers? And guess what comes with advertisers? Money. And the more advertising money that rolls into the radio station trickles down into the on-air staff, which isn't much, by the way, but it's something. TD Sports Card says, my brother-in-law has been listing a bunch the last 6 months. We got my sister into it now, and she's been getting a few sales here and there. I told her, if I ever go, you need to learn to sell my cards. Yes, there you go. A backup plan. Peter, good morning. Good morning, Michael Renicky. Dude says, very good monologue for anyone thinking of ramping up eBay store sales. Peter says, live buying is an adrenaline rush, and so is live selling when a Chipper Jones rookie sells for more than $20. Jody, good morning. Gem City says, followings matter most. I agree with Max. I'm focusing on growing my Facebook and Instagram network. It's essential to my show's success. And that's honestly something that I need to do a better job at. Especially with Facebook and Instagram. I don't ignore it. Like, I post, but I need to post better. And same with Twitter. Like, I just, social media right now is, it's kind of like what it's not making. I mean, it's not immediately impacting my bottom line. Does it make money peripherally? Absolutely. But it's the other stuff right now take precedent. The Madison Card Show, sourcing inventory, spending money, and then obviously shipping and selling, which is taking up a lot of my time. TD Sports Card says it still surprises me of sales of commons and randoms. I have a buyer who almost every single day buys about 7 cards. It's usually right at 7, so he can get that 25% discount. It'll be 82 tops commons, 83 tops commons. And it's usually around this time of day. I got some orders, but it doesn't look like it's his. But it'll be, random commons, 77 tops, 80 tops, 84 Donruss. And I'm pretty sure he's through the mail autograph collector. And so, because some of the names that I see, like, I bet he's sending this through the mail. Mark says, want 20 more chippers. I've got a few still. The thing is, you don't want to like I don't want to get oversaturated. And then all of a sudden it's like, because you'll see, you start to see a decline. I was listing Caitlin Clark's last night, and that first one went for $30. And then it was like 25, and then it's 20, and then it's 15. It's like, okay, if I keep listing, although it was pretty consistent at the end between 15 and $20 for Caitlin Clark's that, are essentially that I overpaid for, because they're basically dollar cards. And I paid like $2 or $3 for them. That dude from Duryea says, thanks for the Chipper Jones tip. LOL. There's Chipper Jones buyers out there. I don't know if they're buying on Buy It Now, but they are in my eBay Live. Zach says, I saw your 1991 Upper Deck Chipper Jones. You have a new drug that people want. It is ridiculous. Glad you will get to ride the wave, but this is worse than COVID Barry Larkin rookie boom. Yeah, jacking the price up on Barry Larkin rookies from 99 cents to what, $2.50? It's a wild, wacky world out there. John says, will there be Girl Scout cookies for sale on Saturday? No, there will not be Girl Scout. I had somebody, I had like a recent boom on, I had somebody that sells like beef jerky. They wanted to set up, and I'm like, no. And honestly, most of the, not most, but both the Sheraton and the Alliant, like, you can't sell food. I'm sure that's like a health department thing. So it's like, no food sales. James says, prob not his cards. He does a lot of consignments. Philly Joe says, do you have any feeling if your live buyers are collectors versus resellers? I have a pretty good feeling they're collectors, because I don't think any reseller is going to spend $20 on a 91 Upper Deck Chipper Jones. So here's the thing. I can tell the resellers versus the collectors, because usually the resellers come in and will snake the dollar cards. And it's like, oh, I can flip this for $3 or $4. So I can tell the resellers, because there are resellers in the room. They're not bidding $20 on a Chipper Jones rookie card, but they'll grab it for $1. At the end of the night, maybe there's less people in the room. Maybe, the people that wanted that are gone. So there's definitely, I would say a majority are collectors, because a majority of the cards are selling for over comps, and resellers are not going to be buying stuff over comps. They shouldn't be, at least. Max says the judicial system is the problem. Should be zero hesitation to press charges on the guy. Looked more like a no deodorant Illinois bargain box sports guy. He's not. He's a Pokemon guy, Max. Travis the Pokemon thief. Yeah. It sucks. It does suck, because we had an issue when I helped promote the first soccer show, not soccer show, but indoor soccer field show in Loves Park with the Premier guys. We had a thief, and he took a lot, a good amount, but the dealer didn't want to give up. He had to give up like all the cards for evidence for an unknown period of time. And he's like, I don't want $3,000 of my inventory tied up. That's a lot for that deal. That's a lot of inventory for him. And he's like, I don't want my cards tied up for an unknown period of time. So like the trade-off is no charges were pressed. Zach says, if they are resellers, they have to find a new strategy if they buy 1986 Pete Rose cards for $6 or Jones rookies for $30. Minus Bo's very limited access to sell like that. There is no path to profit. Max says, Philly, if they were resellers on a bunch of the cards, they'd be out in a month. Yes, they would be. I'm sure there are plenty in there, though, waiting to snipe stuff. Yes, there are resellers in the room. Some of you possibly sneaking in those bids, getting those dollar deals. Zach says these buyers are like Bo with high number football cards. They don't check comps and just blindly get after it. It's a good point. It's a good point. eBay live sellers will be buying chipper rookie lots. There you go. Yeah. I did pick up quite a few. I mean, I was buying Chipper Jones rookies for $1 on Saturday. Normally, it's like, I'm not going to buy a Chipper Jones rookie for $1 because I'm going to list it in my eBay store for $2.50. It's not worth it. Now it is. John says, successful businesses are already looking for their next avenue. Those pivoting to your model are already behind the curve. I agree and disagree with this. I do agree when somebody is seeing success like this, in many cases it is too late. In live selling, I don't think so. Because I do think live selling is only going to grow bigger and bigger. And I said this a year ago before I even tried live selling. But in some avenues, and it's eBay Live, there is still, the selling pool is super small right now, but so is the buying pool. You go into stream, you hop from stream to stream, and you'll see the same names. A lot of the same names. Now, I see new names every night. Unfortunately, some of the new names will send messages like this that I got this morning. Let's see if I can find it. That just piss you off. You get a message like this from a new name that you've never seen before. I'm sorry. I have no idea about sports cards. I got on your live show for some reason. I was on a purse show. Exiting out and distracted. I hit bid on accident. Thought I won a doll. I've been looking at this mistake in emails. I'm an idiot. I'm sorry. Can you please cancel? Thank you. Apologize about everything. I'm not going to decline it. I'm just going to let it sit. I'm not going to accept it. I'm going to decline it. I'm going to do it right now. I'm going to decline. And they're either they're going to pay for it or they're not going to pay for it and receive a strike. Because, kind of like thieves, we need to hold these people accountable. I had the asshole that wanted to cancel his like $250 order from last week won an item last night in my auction, and I got pissed off. And somebody said, "Are you typing a TPS report?" I was angry typing. So I've got to go in and so I sent him a message like I'm like, "Are you going to pay for this order?" I didn't see his name pop up again. But it's like these people need to be held accountable. So I hope he gets an unpaid the big order. I hope he gets an item strike, an unpaid item strike for every single item he won. And he won some good stuff. It's like, well, I mean, it'll sell. And it'll probably sell for the same it sold to him for, maybe even more next time. But I want to hold these assholes accountable. James says, definitely collectors. I tuned in one time and was shocked. Billy Joe says, thanks. You answered my question. Zach says, sports card collectors don't go to shows anymore. There's not too many. There's a lot of Pokemon. Police resources should be more focused on crowd control for military parades instead of pokey-fokey transgressions. I don't think there were too many military parades going on in Janesville. I mean, they had three. I think they ended up sending 3 cars from Janesville PD. So it was a pretty slow day in Janesville, Wisconsin. Gem City Card Show says, I bought some things from Bo I fully intend to sell. Those I was running my numbers because I wanted to see my growth week over week. And I was looking at some of my early shows, and it's like, my goodness. Now, I know I was selling dollar box stuff in those early shows, and I wasn't selling slabs and bigger cards, but I was looking at the numbers, and some of the growth I've seen week over week is pretty astounding. Yeah, that's what happens when I stay up until after midnight. Live selling will grow, but the ROIs will drop more than exponentially. That I agree with. Am I going to see in my ROIs will drop within a show, like my Caitlin Clark example. First card sells for 30. Am I going to get $30 for all of the Caitlin Clarks? No, absolutely not. The second one I think sold for 25 and then 20. And then they were consistently selling for about 15. Now, I've got like $2 into those each. So that's good. But if I kind of like the progressive lots, it's like, yeah, the first couple people get excited, and then all of a sudden you see a progressive decline in your ROI. And I think we'll see that. I think I will see that across the board. I don't think I'm there yet, though. I think I'm still on that ascent before I start to see the drop off where I have to work harder and be smarter. But I do want to get into that. We're going to hit some more chats here. Too bad they need to be at peaceful protests instead, John. Captain Obvious over here today. You're telling me as more businesses pop up in a growing sphere, ROI for original business goes down. Consider my mind blown. Bo suddenly asking Americans to pivot and be responsible. How many people bid while under the influence? Probably more at night. Probably definitely a good amount of that in prime time and at night, especially with some of those sales that I saw. Last parade in Janesville that made the news resulted in a Geraldo getting a broken nose. Oh man, you're dating yourself with that. So one other thing that I wanted to touch on was this is something that is basic sales 101, but I don't think it's put into practice enough. And I'm guilty myself. And I don't say this to preach or to teach, but I say this to speak it out loud, kind of for my own purpose. It's not only what your customers want, but it's also what potential customers want. Now, I'm not going to take this to an extreme, because there is a stay in your lane. I do abide by that to an extent, but I'm also looking to grow a little bit and experiment. Am I going to experiment with Pokemon? No. Am I going to experiment with hockey and soccer? On occasion, yes. But I'm not going to go out and purposely buy. Now, if I find a Messi card in a $1 box, I'll probably buy it because it's like, this will probably sell in eBay Live for more than $1. But I'm not going to go down the Pokemon trail. This is what I've learned with slabs. Why do I sell a lot of PSA 6s, 7s, and 8s? Because that's the sweet spot. I get asked many times in the chat, do you have any PSA 9s or PSA 10s? No, because I can't make money on those. You know, a PSA 9 or a PSA 10 are going to go for a premium. But guess what? They don't go for a premium on eBay Live. This is the fascinating part that I've learned. You know, I can buy a PSA 6 for like $8 of, card X. And I can sell it for $25. That same card in a PSA 9, I'm probably spending $40 or $50, and it's selling on eBay Live for $40 or $50. So that's why I don't do PSA 9s and 10s. I found the sweet spot is the low grades. And that's what, it's not only what the customers want, but it's what they're willing to pay. I don't want to strictly stay in my lane. I've had more and more in the chat. Do you have any WNBA? Do you have any women's basketball? Do you have any Caitlin Clark? Okay, there's demand. Let's just put it to a test. Now, I didn't overspend because I'll probably make a good amount of money. I already made a lot of money on Caitlin Clark last night. But I made in the dealer that sold it to me even told me when he was pitching it to me that this is kind of outside your wheelhouse, but I've seen what you've been pulling out of the $5 boxes. I think this might be up your alley, but it's more than I typically spend. Oh, 4-0 box of WNBA. I bought it. People want it. Do I sell WNBA? Now, I'm not selling WNBA cards to my current customer base on eBay, but I also don't list it. But sometimes if you want to grow, you have to step out. You have to branch out and do something a little bit different. Well, I don't like baseball. I only like football. And I say that about hockey and soccer. I'm not going to do hockey and soccer. I don't like it. But I will experiment with it. Now, am I going to go buy a 4-row box of hockey and soccer? No. Well, I might if the price is right. Never say no. But I'll experiment with it. When I'm static selling, am I going to pull out a Messi or a Ronaldo out of a dollar box? No. But now I might. No, let me rephrase that. Now I will. If it's in a dollar box or if it's a color, yeah, because I know what that can do on eBay Live. And the more you do that, you expand your customer base. And when you expand your customer base, you can expand your bottom line. So I'm being a little more open-minded with what I'm sourcing and why I'm sourcing it, because there's money to be made. Kind of like, going back to what I stated earlier, why was my eBay not growing? Or why was it growing slowly? Because I was buying the same stuff, hoping for different results. I was insane. And the thing is, this is, I think, and this was one of my biggest mistakes when I was planning out my business plan for my eBay business, that I expected to, if I make this much money on 1,000 listings, I can make this much money on 10,000 listings. And that's just not the case. There's some depreciation or diminishing returns. When you start listing in volume. Well, if I list 60,000 and max out my premium store, I'm going to make this much money. And guess what? And I've got the charts to prove it. Listing similar stuff. And you see that decline from a 1% sell-through rate to a 0.2% sell-through rate. And when you go from 60,000 to 100,000, you're probably going to see a similar decline. So, and now I've completely, at one point, it's like, I just want to list everything I have. And now I've really learned, and I never really took it into consideration, being a little stubborn. I never really took into consideration how much time and I did know, but for me, it was worth it. A 50 card, 100 card order. Yeah, it takes a lot more time to pull, but it's a 50, 100 card order. It's going to be a couple hundred, few $100. But just think long term. And that's why I started my organization system when I had a few hundred listings, or a few thousand listings, I guess, when I started it. I wasn't thinking about the now. I was thinking about the future, because I don't need to organize my current setup, my current listings. If I had 1,000 listings, I have them in piles, kind of organized. I know what is where. I just listed these. They're in this pile and going through. But then all of a sudden you get another 1,000 listings and another 1,000 listings. All of a sudden, shit, I'm spending all day fulfilling 6 orders. And with live selling, it's like, yep, here's the name. I've got a 2-row box, and made more money in that 2-row box than I've done in entire months in one night. And it takes a fraction of the amount of time to pack it or to pick it, because it's in one 2-row box, and it's 200 cards and not an inventory of 100,000 plus on multiple shelving units. All right, let's go back to some more chat. Where are we at? Gem City Card Show says, John is back and all is well again. We missed him last week. Geraldo trying to interview the America First Committee. Where's Low Roller Scratcher been? Him and John have been hanging out. John says, what did the 66 PSA 4 go for last night? So, and this is a good point that I wanted to bring up. I also wanted to do an experiment with low-grade vintage commons. I didn't feel I had the audience last night. I did run I did run a vintage slab. It wasn't the one I shared with John. It was here it is. It was a 66 tops Twins rookies in a PSA 4.5. I think that ended up selling for like $15. I think I paid 7 or 8 for it. So it wasn't, which was maybe a little less than I thought. And that's kind of what's like, well, I didn't feel I had the audience that was going to go for vintage last night, the vintage commons. I had an audience that was, we want Caitlin Clark and Chipper Jones, kind of all over the place. But I don't think I had the vintage audience. But I have the other one. I think I ended up buying like 5, and I paid around $7 for those. And I think $15 to $20 is probably going to be, the return. I think 15 is probably on the low end. I think I can get 20 out of them. And maybe 15 ends up being the average, but I think 15 will be good. And hey, on a $7, and hopefully it goes to somebody that bought multiples. And if you minimize it down to one single sale, and you take into account the purchase price, the shipping price, the fees, it's like, well, was it really worth it? You made $1 or whatever probably $1. But you hope that it goes and actually the guy who bought it, I mean, he's getting a box of shit anyway. So basically it comes down to, okay, a percentage of the shipping price. So I'm going to end up making more because of who bought it. I'm going to end up making a bigger profit than $1. I'll make a $4 or $5 profit on that particular card. Philly Joe says, my question should have been quantified with slabs. Thanks again. What was the question on slabs? Oh, on the resellers? If it was on the reseller question, I would think collector also, because the slabs are going for above comps for the most part. I think a couple sold right around comps. Surprising, the Kobe Bryant rookie, which I thought would have sold for significantly more, sold for, I think, what did it sell for? I think it sold for like 35, 38 maybe. And I paid 30. Well, I think I paid 25 for it. 30 was on the sticker. I think I paid 25. So that made a little bit of money. I thought it was going to go closer to 50. But it sold for like, I think 36 or 38, somewhere in that range. The Pete Crow Armstrong ended up, I think it sold for 42. I paid, I think sticker on that was 30. I probably paid 25 for that. So that was a little better margin. Max says, do some of the sales ever make you feel like a slimy used car salesman? A lot of them. Yes, absolutely. Max asking what I'm thinking. Oh, without question. I mean, I can't come out and say, stop bidding on this. This is a 91 Upper Deck Chipper Jones that you can probably find on eBay. Buy it now for $2. Stop. I can't do that. But I also don't want to say, oh, wow, you got a steal on this Chipper Jones rookie. I just kind of I try not to say anything. Like, here's the shipping. Our next live, just kind of ignore it. We're still going. I don't know why. But yeah, there are auctions where I feel slimy. Like, I can't believe I'm taking $30 from this person for a 91 score Chipper Jones rookie card. It does feel a little dirty. I'm still going to take the money. I'm still going to go out and source Chipper Jones rookies for $1 as long as they keep selling like they are. But yeah, a part of me feels a little dirty. John says, expanding your customer base is a give. Sometimes those bases need to be siloed. My company has many verticals. They share efficiencies. Some are completely different, and resources need to be kept apart. Dat Dude says, how many of those 60K are the same exact card? I think Variety would draw more than 10 exact listings. Yeah, there's a lot of duplicates in my eBay store. Just for me specifically. I think my items in my store are like 52,000. And it's declined, and it's going to continue declining because I'm at some point, I'm going to take off a bunch of my buy it now. But again, it's a time thing, and we'll see. John says the card market can be very siloed. Buyers don't like waiting around for their types to show up in a random auction, which my audience is not the type that doesn't want to wait around. I make more money with random auctions than I would running a vintage only auction or I'm going to run a WNBA auction next week. It's probably going to I'll make less on those Caitlin Clark cards. I'm predicting when I do a marketed WNBA only sale, I will make less money on Caitlin Clark cards than I would in a random auction. Kind of like what we talked about, like the vintage. I'm not selling this 66 Topps PSA slab to somebody that collects vintage. I'm targeting the FOMO crowd that sees like, oh, that's a really cool card in a slab. I'm targeting the people that are live buyers and not static buyers. It's a completely different market. There you go. Red light. I've got some. I've got more. Tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Central, we'll throw some PSA vintage up. I've got some more, I think 60. I got a couple 64 tops. I think there's a 66 tops. I think I've got about 4 more. I've got a Clemente also. I've got a 72 Topps Clemente in action. It's a PSA 3. But I was a little nervous to run vintage last night. Max says it's not your fault though, because they are bidding and you aren't forcing it. Just wanted to know how it makes you feel sometimes. Makes me want to buy at shows and then just give you a two row and let you take over half the proceeds. Sunflower's here. He's been in the eBay lives. I thought Jordans were sold lower last night. They were. The prices on Caitlin Clark Donruss base were amazing revenue sources. And that's the thing. Like sometimes a Jordan will sell for $20. The Skylights Jordan seems to sell for $20 to $25 when I run it. Last night, I didn't run a Skylights, but I ran Jordans, the Hoops, the 89 Hoops All-Star, which typically sells for between $10 and $20 on eBay Live. I think sold for $5. Some of the other stuff was selling for less. Now, the slabs that I ran for Jordan sold for more because I think quite a few of them, I think I paid $10 to $12 on the Jordan slabs that I ran. And I think that those were selling for like around 30. So I was doing well on those. But the base, the raw Jordans were selling less than they have in the past. Dad Dude says, don't feel slimy. You are setting the current market. Hopefully eBay never requires titles on the listings. That way they aren't setting a current market. And I think it's good. I think so because somebody asked me earlier, do eBay lives show up and sold? And I think this is good for comps because they're not showing up. A 91 score is not showing up as a $30 sale, or an upper deck selling for 20 is not showing up for sale. It's not ruining the comps. So I think in that regard, it is. Based on my conversations, I don't think, at least at this time, could it be? I can see where it could become a hassle. It's become a hassle for me on a couple of occasions where it's like, you sent me the wrong card. It's like, it's on video. It's on the penny sleeve. It's written on the penny sleeve. You can go back and watch the replay. But I could see why it could. Hopefully it doesn't, because it saves so much time. And I think it does drive more business. The randomness drives more business. John says the WNBA auction is an event. A 66 slab thrown in between Chipper Jones is what I'm talking about. But that's the reason it's going to sell for more. The randomness sells in live. You're not the typical eBay live buyer. I'm not a typical eBay live buyer. Many of us are not typical eBay live buyer or live buyers, whatnot. Loop, District. randomness sells. And that's what I've learned quickly on live selling. I think the WNBA cards, they'll sell for less than a Caitlin Clark following a Chipper Jones is going to sell for more than a bunch of Caitlin Clarks in a WNBA live auction event. That dude from Duryea says, Max, it does for guys that are handling bulk of these cards to sell to guys like Bo. Holy shit, FOMO crowd. It is a FOMO crowd. It's 100% a FOMO. For the most part, it is a FOMO crowd. Live platforms are FOMO. Mark says, I want to break the ice on live selling. I have a lot of good modern and vintage inventory and run a bunch of vintage football groups, but taking that first step is kind of scary. It is. It's absolutely scary. But I think you have a big enough following to make it less scary. Because you have that social media following, especially within the vintage community, where you're not going to sell, a slab for $1, or something, you're going to, I think you have a big enough following that you will do okay to start. And then you will do really well once you get going. I think you will do really well to start. And once you get going, because you have that built-in following already. And that's like what we talked about early on in the show. That's a huge step in any sales, not just live selling, but in any sales. Red Light says, put that shit up when I am around. I love some vintage. All right. Tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Central, eBay Live. If I see you in the chat, we'll run vintage. Max says they make too much money and will in the future to change their listing policy. Hopefully they won't. Tell me you've never watched a live sale without telling me. The reason so much of this goes for what it does is uneducated and unable to look up comps in 10 seconds. And that's, I think the clock, when you have a little bit more of a buffer when you do extended, but most of my auctions I run sudden death. Now, I think I also leave money on the table running sudden death auctions because people wait and try to snipe at the last second. And, there's only 10 seconds where extended bidding, you can get into those bidding wars and it drives the price up. John says, I'm talking about a sustainable model, not whatever is happening now. Current situation on eBay will be registered as an outlier when all is said and done. This happens on Whatnot. This has been happening on Whatnot. This isn't just eBay Live. This is live selling. Like this happens. Watch some of the bigger channels on Whatnot, and they sell shit for over comps all the time. Is it a sustainable model? It might be. It might not be. But I'm gonna take advantage of it as long as I can. And I'm smart enough to adapt. And if this is not a sustainable model, I'm not going out and spending $1 million on inventory because I've got to move through the inventory, right? I've got enough inventory to get me through probably another week. Of course, the Madison Card Show, I'll likely source more inventory. But man, I go through this fast. And but I also don't want to get caught with my pants down and buy 100 Chipper Jones. I don't want to say, hey, Mark, send me those Chipper Jones rookies. And now all of a sudden they're selling for, the people that wanted to buy them have spent the max and you see that diminishing return. And now all of a sudden it's like, now they're selling for 10. Oh, it's a bad night. This one sold for 1. Now they're selling 1, 2, 1, 2. And it's a losing endeavor. Sunflower says, I was surprised to see the PSA 10 PCA. It seemed like it could have sold for even more based on the uniqueness for your auctions. I was a little surprised. It only went for, I think, $42. I was really surprised by that. Especially, his market's been really up and I get it's live selling. And in my experience has been with, the live selling, his market's been, sometimes this Bowman will sell for $2 and then it'll go for 12. Max says, has the card business ever been a sustainable model? That's a really A plus on that comment. Is the card business sustainable? Generally speaking. Great comment. I love it. Orlando, what's going on? Good morning. Mark says, thanks. I do a lot of bigger card shows. That dude from Duryea says cards have sustained for over 100 years. It started out with a different purpose, but it's still going. Rich Klein has sustained a career in card sales for 8 decades. Anything can happen. Orlando is late to the party, was recording a video. Awesome. Welcome in. Max says, everyone that is in cards knows the business is an amorphous mass. And Dan is with us. And we're just about to leave. All right. I was early. Dan, I was early for you. You complained yesterday. And here I am, and you're late to the party, showing up at the end. Cooter's in the house. Cooter said, sold a bunch of 87 M&M panels last weekend. Buyer was a live seller, so live selling is driving other secondary sales. I see it. I mean, doing card shows, you see it like, why are people buying? Because they're selling and they need inventory. Like, why am I buying? I bought more in the last week than I have in the last, well, I can't really say the last couple months, but I probably bought more in the last week than I bought in the first quarter of the year, because of live selling and going through it so quickly. But I'll be digging through one of my favorite vendors. He won't be set up this weekend, but he'll be back in July. And he's the one that I buy a lot of like dollar vintage stuff from. And he said there was a younger guy, probably, I don't know, in his 20s maybe, and he was just like stacking, like buying, and he's a live seller. And I'm like, wow, it's crazy. And now I get it. Like, I didn't understand it at the time. And it was only a few months ago, 6 months ago, maybe. But now I understand. Dan skipped our show to watch an episode of Dark. Well, so stop complaining about when I start if you're going to watch other shows, man. John says, you're taking what I'm saying as an indictment on what you are doing. I'm referring to those who are in this chat that are trying to find the courage to sell on a platform that may wonder why they don't enjoy your success. Yeah, I get it. What's the parking situation at the Sheraton this month? There might be. I don't know. We're not at the Sheraton this month, so I don't know what the parking situation will be. Dan says, let's pick a start time and stick to it, bud. We're on my time. You're on my time. Isn't that what teachers used to say? This is my time. You're on my time. Keep doing what you're doing. The others are the what just happens. Politics, religion, and card dealers need that crowd. Should be wide open at the Sheraton on Saturday. I would think so. Unless there's a bunch of people staying there. Only 3 months until the Nationals, Dan. Max says why? Or Dan says why? That's why. Because there's no card show at the Sheraton this month. Alrighty. So hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, visit my eBay store, 99centcards.com. I'm just going to ignore Zach's comment. Next eBay Live is tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Central. Be there or be square. Shipping out today. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow morning. Bye-bye.